R. Kelly has just been rushed to the hospital under circumstances that sound more like a crime thriller than a medical emergency. The once global R&B superstar, now serving a 30-year sentence for federal sex crimes, reportedly collapsed in his prison cell at FCC Butner in North Carolina. What followed wasn't just an ambulance call, it was a moment of chaos, fear, and confusion. Reports now reveal that Kelly was transported not to a nearby clinic, but directly to Duke University Hospital, raising immediate questions. Why the urgency? Why bypass the prison's medical unit? His legal team says this was no accident. They claim Kelly suffered a near-fatal overdose, and they're suggesting it was caused not by street drugs smuggled into the facility, but by medications administered by prison staff themselves. And now they're going even further, alleging that this may not have been an accident at all. So what exactly happened inside that prison? According to Kelly's attorney, the trouble began earlier in the week when he was placed in solitary confinement. His mood was low, his health already under stress, and then he was given his standard meds for anxiety and sleep, just like every other night. But something felt different this time. Within hours, he began to feel dizzy, disoriented, his vision blurred. He reported seeing black dots and feeling his body grow heavy and weak. And then he collapsed. He couldn't speak clearly, couldn't move, couldn't even call for help. Prison guards found him unresponsive and rushed him to Duke Hospital. But here's where it takes a disturbing turn. According to his legal team, doctors ran toxicology reports and discovered elevated doses of substances that should never have been administered at that level. It wasn't just carelessness, it was potentially lethal. During the hospital transfer, one of the prison officers reportedly muttered something chilling. This is going to open a whole new can of worms. And it did. While under care at Duke, R. Kelly underwent imaging and blood work. Doctors found blood clots in both his lungs and legs, something that could have led to a fatal pulmonary embolism. They immediately recommended he be held for further observation, possibly requiring emergency surgery to prevent the clots from migrating. For 2 days, he remained under close medical watch. But just when it seemed like he might get the treatment he needed, prison officials intervened. Against medical advice, R. Kelly was abruptly discharged from Duke Hospital and transported back to prison. No surgery, no follow-up, just a cold ride back to the same solitary cell where the incident began. His attorney called it gross medical negligence, but they didn't stop there. They believe Kelly's forced return to solitary was not just a bureaucratic error, it was deliberate retaliation for speaking out. To make matters worse, he was denied access to his lawyers for several days, raising concerns about whether his rights were being systematically violated. How does a federal inmate go from intensive care to solitary confinement without even being stabilized? And more importantly, why? This is where things start sounding like a Netflix conspiracy doc. According to newly filed court documents, Kelly's legal team is alleging a murder-for-hire plot inside FCC Butner. They claim there is evidence suggesting that certain prison staff, in conjunction with an inmate allegedly affiliated with the Aryan Brotherhood, were planning to orchestrate his death from inside the facility. Yes, you heard that right. A convicted R&B star, targeted for assassination, not by fellow inmates, but allegedly by the very people charged with his protection. The motive? Unknown. But some reports suggest it may stem from the high-profile nature of Kelly's crimes, racial animosity, or pressure from other inmates. While prosecutors dismiss this as wild speculation, Kelly's attorneys say they have names, statements, and documented threats. Federal prosecutors were quick to respond, calling the claims a publicity stunt designed to generate sympathy and distract from the severity of Kelly's crimes. In their latest motion, they argue that Kelly's medical needs have been addressed and that there is zero credible evidence of a coordinated attack. They say the clots were pre-existing, the dosage was standard, and that his accusations are baseless. But one question remains unanswered. If there was no misconduct, why did doctors recommend surgery, and why was it canceled? Prosecutors also pointed out that Kelly has shown little remorse for his past crimes and warned that allowing him to be released, even temporarily, would pose a risk to the community. The judge overseeing the case has not yet made a final ruling. A hearing is scheduled for June 20th, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Meanwhile, R. Kelly's team is making an urgent appeal. They're requesting a temporary release from prison under furlough status, or even an early compassionate release, citing unsafe conditions, medical neglect, and the alleged murder plot. His lawyers are even considering petitioning for a presidential pardon, an extraordinary move for someone convicted of multiple federal offenses. Whether he'll be granted any of this remains to be seen. What's clear is this: R. Kelly's legal team is no longer just fighting a sentence. They're fighting what they say is a system actively trying to kill him. And they want the world to pay attention. This case raises more questions than answers. If even a fraction of these claims are true, it suggests deep dysfunction inside one of America's federal prisons. This would suggest medical malpractice, civil rights violations, and possibly even institutional-level conspiracy. If the claims are false, it would mark one of the boldest legal diversions in recent memory. Either way, the situation is spiraling. This isn't just about R. Kelly anymore. It's about what happens when any inmate can be allegedly overdosed, denied care, and thrown back into isolation. What message does that send? Who's really in control inside those prison walls? And how close did we come to hearing about R. Kelly's death, instead of just his collapse? As of today, R. Kelly is alive. But for how long? His health is declining. The clots are still there. The fear remains. And the court will soon decide whether he gets relief or gets buried by the system. The June 20th hearing will be pivotal. Will he get medical freedom, or will the system dig in deeper? We'll keep following the story. And if you want the latest updates as soon as they break, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Was this a setup or just a tragic mistake?